welcome to the Red Half of Sheffield preview pod, back for the second time in seems like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's time to preview West Bromwich for our upcoming game. Actually, as this comes out, it'll probably be on Sunday because we're recording on Friday or whatever day it is between Christmas and New Year's. I am joined once again by Tom from the Tunnel Podcast. Tom, how are you doing? Hope you had a wonderful Christmas.
Yes, mate. I'm good. Thanks, mate. Yeah. Having a good Christmas, good break away from work. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, aren't we all? First of all, let's get it started. What in the hell? 12:24, so Christmas Eve, and I think a half hour before Christmas, West Bromwich put out a statement saying our manager Carlos Colbrand is taking another job, and will be. My mind is still blown. Get into that. What the hell happened?
Yeah. Yeah. It just happened really quickly, mate. I think it must have been maybe a couple of days before that. It was rumored that Valencia were interested in him, and then I think a few kind of reliable sources confirmed it, and then the Albion fans started to get really worried because he's obviously Spanish, but I think a lot of Albion fans, myself included, didn't realise that Valencia is his hometown. It was his boyhood team. All his family, a lot of his family still live there. So yeah, I think kind of when we started reading that, and obviously the opportunity, Valencia, they're not doing very well in La Liga this season. They're down towards the bottom, but still, they're a big Spanish team, a lot of history. Still playing in La Liga, so kind of competing. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. I think it was too good an offer for him to turn down. So, but then, I've just been talking about it. Like I said on my pod, it's just the timing of it is just the sickening part for the Albion fans. Is like you said, what Merry Christmas half an hour before
Yeah.
the clock dings and it's Christmas Day. The club announced that he was going, but then I just think when you look at the games that they're coming thick and fast, aren't they, in the Championship at this moment in time? The January transfer window is obviously about to open. It just couldn't have come at a worse time. So yeah, the Baggies fans were absolutely devastated, mate, and we're just kind of hoping we can make our new appointment sooner rather than later, so our playoff hopes don't completely derail.
Yeah, and that's okay. I guess this is a continuation of the last question. Is it true that West Brom are under a transfer embargo?
No, we're not under a transfer embargo, but ultimately we're very limited in terms of how much money we can spend. So
Yeah.
we were new owners came in towards the end of last season,
Hmm.
and they are willing. They have money. They want to pump money into the club, but because of our losses over previous seasons with our previous owner, and financial fair play and all that jazz, we can only spend so much. You've got to you can only be X amount in the black. Your debt can only be X amount each season passes. So they're limited as to how much kind of money that they can pump into new transfers. So what they're doing is paying off kind of outstanding loans and trying to, clear the debt first and foremost. So, yeah, we've had to kind of, at the start of this season, had to trim the squad. And I think going into January, we're probably going to have to sell a couple of players, maybe send a couple of the guys we had on loan back who haven't really done much for us to, free up a bit of space to make a couple of signs in January. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have to move people out before we can move people in.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. It ties into what I was saying in that, under Corberan and the backroom staff, we would have been all set to go in January.
Yeah.
He would have known what players he was willing to sell, what players out there that he wanted to bring in. Well, that all goes out the window now
Yeah.
because the new manager might have completely different opinion on things. He might take a shine to certain players. The squad's got to be assessed, hasn't it? So
Yeah.
it's just a mess, mate. It's a mess.
Yeah, obviously, as you said, the rumbling started. So you could probably look to the beginning or beginning of December towards mid-December where talks were probably going on behind the scenes. But it's almost like a swift kick to the balls in a sense to West Brom fans. So just like, well, you left us high and dry, dickhead, and we're 6-7 days away from the transfer window opening. We're gonna have to bring in a manager who knows absolutely nothing about our squad. He's gonna want to come in and get his own players. It's a
Hey,
mess. So
I know.
in a sense, and I hope it doesn't. He's almost killed off West Brom. They've almost killed off West Brom without even opening the January transfer room, because it's going to be a massive undertaking for whoever comes in to get his squad through the door on limited amounts of money and loans, and there's probably going to be players, if a manager that players don't like gets appointed, those players going to ask for, hey, I want out of here. It's going to be absolutely turmoil.
Oh, mate, yeah, that's it. You're absolutely spot on. It's it just couldn't have come at a worse time. The hope with the Albion fans is like you said, started December. Corberan was being linked with the Wolves vacancy in the Premier League, and then it was the Southampton vacancy in the Premier League. So, he's been linked to a few jobs of late, and the hope of the Albion fans is that the club has maybe, hopefully preempted him eventually going, and have got an action plan in place ready to go. So, we're hoping that someone's brought in quite quickly. And, I still believe that if we can, make the right appointment, then, there's obviously a chance to kind of salvage this season, keep in the playoff mix. But, the worry amongst the Albion fans is that, we're 2 weeks late, 2 weeks from now, we're still trying to bring in, a new manager. Like, look at Coventry earlier on in the season. It took them 2-3 weeks, didn't it, to make their appointment? If that was to happen to us, with all the games that are coming as well, we could be still managerless. And, by then we could be maybe cut adrift from the playoffs. We've got some tough games. Obviously, we've got yourselves. On Sunday, we lost the derby yesterday. So, yeah, it doesn't take long in the championship, does it, for you to become kind of cut adrift and start falling down the table? So,
no, I mean, and it sucks because I keep, because I've talked to you numerous of times, so I start keeping an eye on West Brom, and then I just saw, and I was like, what in the hell are they doing? All right, since we're keeping it short because we only just previewed this match 3 weeks ago. How do you think Sunday, a lunchtime kickoff at that, or 12:30 kickoff at that? How do you think Sunday goes? Because we got hammered yesterday against. Well, I say we got hammered, but we lost 2-0 to Burnley at home. This one is at Bramall Lane as well. How do you think it goes?
Yeah, look, I think given what we've just been talking about, I can't see anything other than a Sheffield United win. I know you guys lost to Burnley. I watched the second half of that game, and I watched the highlights earlier today, and yeah, I was a bit surprised at the kind of lack of chances Sheffield United carved out. I know Burnley are very good defensively, like yourselves, but it did seem like they kind of really limited you to kind of shots from outside the box. They did a great job at keeping you at bay. And I know you've got this injury list that just kind of continues to rack up and rack up. So and I definitely, Sheffield United definitely, got a few things going against them at this moment in time. But Yeah, I just fancy, I fancy Wilder to kind of get a reaction from the players after, like you said, they didn't play well enough against, Burnley, a team, obviously competing with them for one of those automatic spots. I think he'll be determined to kind of get a reaction from the players, put in a much better performance. And I just think, given our circumstances, like I said, we played Burnley yesterday, and you could just tell that some of the players, you could just see it from their performance that, they're obviously disappointed and upset that, Corberan has left. A lot of those guys, he's kind of, he's molded, and he's really improved them. So you could just see in some of them that they were disappointed with this, with what's happened in the last few days. So yeah, look, if we were to get anything from the game, mate, I would be absolutely over the moon. Like you said, the last game, it only seems like, well, it was only a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? And I thought it was a great game, to
It
be
was.
honest with you. I thought both teams kind of went for it. Both teams had, spells where they were in control. I thought 2-2, I thought was a fair result. I thought it was I think you said, didn't you? You're hoping just for a kind of a cracking game, which gives a kind of good, showing of what championship's capable of. And I felt like it did that. And it was funny because after that result, we kind of turned a bit of a corner. We won a couple
Yeah.
of games, and we were spurred on by that result against yourselves. But I just think, with what's happened on Christmas Day, Corberan going, I think, I'd be very surprised if we get something from the game Sunday.
Yeah, no. I see. It was such an entertaining game a couple weeks ago. I don't know why the hell we're playing this 3 weeks on, but I think your situation helps Sheffield United in a sense. Harry Suter's out for the season. Vinny Souza's probably going to be out a while. So we're going to have to look to January to strengthen our side going into the stretch run in the second half of the season. I think with the situation you guys are in a situation where we need to rebound off of a loss against Burnley at home, I think you're right in saying Wilder's going to get a tune out of the players to inevitably go and get us over the line. And I think we win this. I could see this going 1-0 either way, but just in the sense of the situation that West Brom are in right now, I just think it's just a bridge too far, and it's just one of those deals where it, you know, being managerless is almost kind of like being rudderless in the ocean. And you're just kind of marauding along, and you just kind of plod along with no real due course. And I think that's just going to be what we're going to see on Sunday. So I don't know.
I think so, mate. I think the only hope we have is like the amount of injuries you've got. Like you said, Suter, one of your starting centre backs, he's a big loss. Sousa in midfield as well. I think Tom Davis now is probably going to have to come in, isn't he? So I think that's the only hope we have, is that the injuries you've got to some key players. But I think you're spot on in that. If we had Corberan going into this game, I'd feel a hell of a lot more positive of us getting, especially given your injuries, of us getting something from the game. But you're spot on in that you could see it instantly in the game against Derby. We played well in phases. We carved out some decent chances. Maybe could have nicked a point in the end, but I think the difference between the two teams was, Derby were playing at a much better intensity. You could see they were up for the game. You could see that some of our players were obviously gutted about what's happened the last couple of days. And I think that'll be the difference again on Sunday. I think Sheffield United at home, Wilder will want to see a response. I think the fans will want to see a response. I think you'll have a better intensity, the fans behind you. I think that'll be the difference between the two teams. Like you said, you have got the ability to give us a pummeling. I like to think that you won't.
No,
I like
no
to
way
think
in hell.
if what I'm just hoping for is that we just, give a good account of ourselves and we don't get pummeled. But look, if we can take a point from it, if you offer me a point right now, mate, I'd snap your hand off 100%.
Honestly, in a sense, I would take one too, because I don't want. We can't suffer back-to-back defeats, because then it just absolutely destroys the momentum we've built up for all season.
Yep.
So yes, I would take a point. Yes, I would like all three, because then it puts us in a better standing. But you just never know. All will be found out lunchtime, 12:30 on Sunday, not Saturday. Oddly enough, everybody in England has tomorrow off, which is weird to me. Tom, where can the people find the Tunnel Podcast, where you host and do such a great job?
Yeah, well, I think we're probably most active on X, in terms of kind of tweets and whatnot. But yeah, our videos obviously go up onto our YouTube page. So yeah, we try and do at least one championship roundup video a week. Sometimes we squeeze two in, but we do at least one a week. So yeah, funnily enough, mate, we've just been talking about Sheffield United in depth. Well, we're talking about yourselves and the Burnley game we were doing a bit of a review of, but then we were saying about how important your January is going to be,
Yeah.
And I think we said this, didn't we, when we spoke last time round, about it's probably going to make or break your season, isn't it? January, the business you do. And so, but yeah, we cover all teams and we try and pick different teams each week to try and, chat about and discuss and so on. So yeah, that's where you can find us, mate.
Definitely give them a follow. It is a well put together podcast, a very informal podcast as well. And it's for one of the podcasts covering the championship that is growing. The Tunnel Podcast is a great one to pick up and listen to.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
If you haven't done so, Red Half of Sheffield, at Red Sheffield on X, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Red Half of Sheffield. Just look it up. And until I'm back to preview Sunderland on New Year's Day, I will leave you with this: up the blade.